Okay, so welcome to my talk about, as Paweł mentioned, about errors. So I'll be definitely checking if the errors are nil or not. But I want to talk about something else. With Go 1.13, there is something that new that was introduced to the ways that we can create or handle errors in Go, which is wrapping and unwrapping the errors so that you can add some additional context. I have some slides. I might at some point just give them up and switch to some code, because maybe this gives us more of an understanding of what is new and how you can use it. So let's just start by saying what error handling used to look like. So with up until Go 1.12. You can basically use two ways of defining errors in the standard library. You can either use the errors package, which can be used to say errors new, and that this is the instance of a type of an interface error, actually, not the type. And also you can create it with thumb, or however you want to call it, but thumb package. To say that you can also, the second one is providing you with an opportunity to pass some value to the error. For example, you want to add some user input into the message. You can use it because the error f works the same way as printf. So whatever formatting directive you use there, it will be included in the error. But then there are two issues with that, with creating errors in the standard library the old way. The first thing is that if you have a code and then you return an error based on some error that was thrown underneath, you have two choices. Either you return an error as it was, or you create your own error saying that something happened because of, and then you pass the error which is inside. And the first approach makes your debugging harder, because you just pass the root cause all the way to the top of your execution path, while the second one causes you another additional hassle of losing the original root error cause. Maybe I'll already switch to the Visual Studio Code. Okay. So let's just create a small application, and then you have, I'll make it slightly larger, and then say that you have some inner function which returns an error, and then you define an error, and then this inner just will return that error. And then you can call, for example, create just a similar function to that, which will be called outer, which will call inner, and then return nil if there is no error. So you already have the error if error is not nil here, as you requested by our MC. And then you can call error1 to see outer, and yes. And then if I call this, you can say that you can see that the outer caused an error, and then the error was some error. And this is the approach that was used in the Go 1.11 and earlier. And then the question is, if you add the second step, for example, of error 2, I'm sorry, not here, but you can do it here. And then if you call this inner, if you call it run this again, and you get some error, you don't really know which error, which execution path actually was called here, because you call some inner functions twice, and then if for some reason the first call does not return an error, but the second one does, you have no idea how to do it, how to see it based on the error message. So what you can do is you can add some context here. So you just return error f and the error f first call failed, and then you add this error which was returned. And once, obviously you can do it for the second one as well, but then if you call this again, you can see that there is some kind of a stack trace like thing available right now, because now you know that the first call was the one that caused an error that was returned at the end. But this raises another issue, because at the top level you might want to know what caused the whole application to fail, because right now if you say if error 1 is error sum, then print too bad. But if there is something else, so basically if there is some kind of an error, you can handle it in some other way. So this you can check the error returned from the outer, and then you can call this again and see that we still get the error message as previously, because this error that was returned from outer is no longer there's some error, but this is something else. This is a completely new kind of error, because it was created like from scratch, and the only thing that you know here is that about the root cause is the string representation of it in the message, while if we stick to the original solution, you can actually see that the outer level read the value correctly, and then you can handle it somewhere else. So this has been an issue with Go errors handling for quite some time, and the community responded to the problem. And one of the solutions to that was library called by Dave Cheney, who is the fairly popular fellow in the Go world, and he added a library called pkg error. Okay, I don't have. And then, okay, maybe just forget about that. So basically, what it does, it is just fulfills the interface that errors, the standard library errors provided. Just please disregard this message. But what it does provide us with is the ability to wrap the errors. So in this case, if we get the call in the outer function, you can say, excuse me, errors wrap failed. And then if you call it again, at first sight it's kind of the same because we just switched we again created something else. But what we can do right now is, instead of comparing the errors as they were, you can say errors cause error 1. And so we basically ask what was the root cause of this error. And oh, let me just do it like this. And then you can see that you can handle it differently with too bad as the first message, but then you can actually see what the error was exactly. So if you get this kind of a message, sorry, you can handle it differently, but you can still say, okay, I know exactly what line caused the issue because the first call failed.
If it wrap the error twice, it won't work, right?
It will work again. It will work still, because the way it works is that the cause function takes the error and then checks if this error was created with the wrap. So because when the error is created with the wrap, it adds another method to the error, which is called, I believe, cause. I'm sorry. And then when you call this cause, how it works is that it takes the error 1 and asks if the error has the cause method. If it does, just call it, and then go again and again and again. So the the sum error, the original one, does not have it. So this is the last one on the list, and then there is no point of looking anywhere deeper because there is nothing deeper, and then we stop at this point. So we can do it. There we go. Now, what happened is, after a few years, because actually I've been talking about PKG errors, I believe, like 2 or 3 years ago on the meetup. Thank you. I've been talking about PKG errors on the meetup like 3 years ago. And then I was talking about the advantages of using this instead of the standard library. So after quite some time, standard library finally caught up to the idea. And then this is how you do it in the standard library. You don't have a wrap, but you can... how you do it is similar to the original one, which would be just adding the different formatting verb to the call, and then with errors cause you actually call errors is, and then you go, so maybe let's just leave it for comparison, and then you can call errors is error sum. And then if you call this, you can see that the behavior is basically exactly the same as the one provided by the community. So we can say this is a huge success. This is a huge success for the Go programming language. There is one issue though with it, and this is PKG errors has become very popular over the years. I've checked that it's been used like 700,000 times in the GitHub repositories, and this is only counting the public ones. So, so you would be celebrating with standard library catching up to the PKG errors, except for one thing, that they are using different APIs. And then if you stick to it, and you have you call a wrap version. Okay. You can say that it's not recognized as we would like to. So, is there an issue here? I believe it is, because as long as you are sticking with you're building the whole code yourself, you should be fine, because you can say, okay, from now on we'll just not use the wrap and cause. We'll use the errors 113 approach. But the problem starts when you are using some kind of external dependency, and the dependencies are using PKG errors, and you started by relying on that, and then you can't consistently check the root causes of an errors, because some come from the library and some come from the from your own code, and then the solution would be that in the top level you say, okay, if this is errors cause is something, then do something, but then if errors is something, then do something, and if it's neither, then it's actually something that you don't know about. So there has been a discussion on the PKG errors package, the library, to add support for 113, but the maintainers are pretty reluctant to add anything. Some of them say that the library itself is complete, and then there is no need for adding something like this, especially since Go 113 gives you another way to do it. But again, if you are using some kind of an external dependency, you have a problem. And then I did some kind of a small library once in a day. It's called Mappy. And how it works is that it works either way, but let's just say that it takes a map, string to string map, and then based on using struct tags, you can create struct like struct object based on the map. So, and this library is using PKG errors as a way of showing that something is wrong. You can see that there is errors wrap, and the errors fall from the PKG error. So imagine that I no longer support the library, and I decide that, okay, from now on I will not touch the library anymore, and then don't add the support for 113, but you still are using this in your code. And then you can see that, just take the example here. It's Marshall. No, actually I was, okay. Okay, and then the unmarshal returns an error, if I believe it does. And then what I wanted to achieve is that I will try to cause an error from the library, and then see how can I use Go 113 error way of handling errors, but still use the library that does not. So let's just try to cause it to fail. honestly. It does not. But one thing that you don't know, but I do about the library, is that it supports only string to string. But obviously, Go supports struct with other types. So if I do this, and then you say that this guy has a number of 34, for example.
Missing B.
Missing what?
B. Number.
Numbers. Thank you. And then if you do, I do this library is by far not complete. But it just fails. It calls. There is a panic inside, but it's handled gracefully by the library, and then it returns just a regular error, so that you can actually handle it. So if I look inside the library, and I was using the unmarshal, so let's just see, and there is an error type called error map unmarshal. So I can say that if errors is, and the error that I returned is actually mappy error unmarshal, I can say, for example, my bad, my input data was wrong. And then I can actually print an error. Oh, well, maybe not. Maybe not. But then, if there is something else causing the library to fail, I want to say, and this is why I chose my my library not to offend anybody, that Słomek mappy is scrappy. And then you can call this. And it says it's scrappy. And as far as self-consciousness and laughing at myself, I'm fine with that. But this is actually not true, because the error that was returned from unmarshal is actually mappy errors unmarshal. And this is caused because this is the problem, because errors is underneath calls the errors unwrap method, which is not present on the errors created with the PKG errors, which is used in the library. And this is the whole discussion on the pull requests in the PKG errors, that in this situation you can't do anything, and according to what the suggestion might be from the maintainers is if errors cause.
It's other errors, right?
Yes. And then this is, as a smart voice from the audience shouted already, this is other errors. So I add PKG error. I now have to use the external dependency just for me to, if correct?
Cost takes 100.
PKG cause error, yes. And then if you do this, you can say, okay, my bad, input data was wrong. But the problem is that you don't want to do it everywhere in your application. So you just say that you don't want to do it. What you can do it is that I came up with during the casual talk with one of my colleagues, is that you can see in Go mod that we are using the PKG errors in a specific version. What we would like to do is we have some kind of a solution that works the same way as PKG errors, but also adds the support for 113. And technically, it's very simple to do, because all you need is fork the library, and then whenever whatever is done when you call errors is, which is underneath. So whenever you actually call error unwrap on the error, make it behave the same way as errors cause. Yes, errors cause called on the PKG error. So, so just make those two methods do exactly the same, and then you should be fine. The problem is that you don't want to fork everything on the internet just because one of the things doesn't work for you, and also you don't want to maintain it. So a good thing that on the internet there is something. I mean, for most stuff that you actually need, somebody already did it. And this is the library called friends of go/errors, which is the fork of PKG errors, and it does exactly what you need. So what you do here is that.
Is it a module or?
Sorry?
Is it in a? I mean, it's using Go module, so is it using the same module? You rewrite the source, or you need to rewrite the inputs everywhere?
Let me show you, but you'll be satisfied with what I'm going to show you, because you always are. What you can do is you can use the replace directive, and then you can say whenever PKG errors is used, you can just show me the friends of Go errors. And one thing that is necessary here is that because PKG errors have some specific version, we also need to provide a version for the library that you want to use in this place. I've been using 1091 for my preparations because this was released 22 hours ago, but hopefully this doesn't break anything. It sure doesn't because it's a patch release. And then if I call this again, you can see that there is no PKG errors cause anymore, but then what happened is that the Go modules downloaded the fork of the library, and wherever is the PKG errors is used, so let me just remove it from here, and from here, and from here. So actually I do not use it in my code, but whenever in the whole application, which is not only my code, but the code that is inside of my dependencies, wherever the PKG errors is used, it's actually the friends of Go errors used. And this is important because right now my whole application can forget about PKG errors, and then I know that whenever I use some kind of a dependency and it does use the old community way, I'm safe because it still fulfills the interface that is now expected by the Go 113 errors. So that would be all. Thank you.
I have a question.
Sure.
What happens if you pass W twice to formatting the directive?
If you pass W twice, I believe that this is actually I checked that, but I don't remember anymore. I believe that one of those is or maybe I don't know if I'm guessing right now, but I believe there is some kind of issue that you can't do it twice. So maybe let's just, instead of guessing, duplicate errors. Yes, can we do it? No. Yes, this is more than one wrapping directive, but it does work. I mean, or it looks like the first one is filled, but the second one is just not understood. So this is.
Does it? I mean, maybe it doesn't work because it says they're duplicates, so maybe it's some different type would do. I mean,
But if you change the error sum to some other,
yeah, exactly. Change the type of the error sum.
Okay. Like, do you mean the different errors, right?
We would need 2 errors actually.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so looks like the same, and maybe we can already also check errors is error some error, and then whoa.
All right.
So it looks like it breaks for both. Like, okay, so this is kind of unexpected. That's kind of a bummer, but yeah, basically the warning here is actually something that I believe should be an error because
it's
just
like static or
yeah, but I believe that it's a simple solution would be if you have this twice, you just have an error, a compilation error. I believe so.
Exactly.
Okay, I have nothing else. If anyone, sure.
If you write mappy once more, what library would you use now?
If I started again, I would be anything that I would start using the Go 113. Okay, maybe rash decision. It depends on the target, I would say, but okay. On the second thought, I think I would still stick with the PKG errors, just because you're using the 113 errors would force anyone that uses the library to use Go 113. So I would say that this is still some kind of there is still some time to stick with the community solution.
And there's also like sometimes it's good to know if you create a library, it's not sometimes involved not wrapping an error but just returning the correct one.
Yes.
So it's also like one way of solving it that maybe it's not necessary to wrap the errors from the sometimes.
Do you know why they didn't use the PKG errors in the standard?
I don't know, because for some time there was a notion that, like, some kind of feeling that this is something that's going to be included in the standard library, but it never has been. So, but actually, I didn't track it so thoroughly to say that there was some kind of a decision or is there just some kind of an approach that the core team just wanted to do it their way.
It was similar with GoWroc and GoWroc.
Yes. Okay, so thank you.